What's up, guys? Welcome to my channel. Welcome to the inaugural video of my channel. Um, what's up to the Zoomers? What's up to the Groypers? Salutes in chat. If you're already watching this video, I kind of assume that you're up to speed on what's going on with the Groyper Wars and America First, but if you're brand new to this kind of content, I would probably suggest you watch Tucker Carlson is probably a good starting point. Nick Fuentes, obviously, as far as paleoconservatism goes and the America First movement. Um, very briefly, as far as my beliefs go, I'm America First through and through, economically, socially, social issues. It's really about what benefits the American people the most. And then you get into the question of who are the American people, and that's something we'll talk about later as we go on this channel. But um, yeah, economics has to be America first. It has to benefit the workers first and foremost, the American workers. Um, and then as far as social issues go, I'm family first. Family is the building block of society. Any movements that are used to subvert that, I generally tend to be against. And we'll get into more of that as far as the Zoom call goes that we're going to take a look at today. But um, as far as the Groyper Wars go, again, I'm assuming you're kind of caught up on this if you're watching this video right now. But we have Groyper Wars Part 2 going on right now. Part 1 was more aimed at TPUSA. It was aimed at their college speaking tour during the Q&A portion where you had true conservatives. You had Patrick Casey, you had Dave Riley, Kay Alexander. You had a lot of good people asking very serious questions about the direction of the conservative movement and how much ground we're willing to cede to the left and to neocons and all that. We're going to get into more of that in the video. Um, but yeah, we're America First. We're here. We're on YouTube. Nick has done a good job of, forming a base of America First support on TikTok, which is interesting. Um, Nick, Jaden McNeil, and Jake Lloyd were banned almost immediately from TikTok, I believe. Nick was able to do a stream last night. Um, Ended up having to go to D Live. Great show. Um, but it does bring up some interesting questions as far as social media censorship goes. Um, Republicans' kind of reflexive response to tech censorship to say, well, it's a free company. They can do what they want. And I don't know if we get into it in this Zoom call, but overall, that's a very large issue. Um, so yeah, we're in Groyper Wars Part 2. The TikTok battle is ongoing, but what I really want to take a look at today is one of the Zoom calls that happened the other day. So if you're not familiar, there is a group on TikTok called Conservative Hype House. I want to say they have a little over 200,000 followers-ish, maybe 280. Um, it's basically a group of normie conservatives. It's very much like Reagan worship, um, George Bush era style republicanism. It's republicanism that hasn't exactly adapted well to the 2020s. And we're going to see that in this Zoom call. But like I said, if you're already here, I have a feeling that you're familiar with kind of the Zoom landscape, the TikTok war landscape. Um, so we're going to get into that a little bit. Let me pop that open really quick. Okay, so what we're going to have to do for this video is Kyle Frank, big shouts out to Kyle Frank, based autiste. He streamed this Zoom call, I want to say 2 nights ago, um, on D Live. So the thing with Conservative Hype House in their Zoom calls is they don't let you screen grab or screen record any of their Zoom calls. So you basically are dependent on someone else to stream it for you. Um, but like I said, if you're on this channel already, I have a feeling you're familiar with some of the dynamics of this Zoom call. But if you're brand new, I think this is also a very good opportunity to get familiarized with kind of what our side of the right, America First, is really about. And also it's going to give me the chance to kind of go into a little bit more detail into things that I wasn't able to totally say that night on the Zoom call and, you know, points where I may have been imprecise. So yeah, let's just jump into it. I haven't watched all this yet, so I'm kind of excited. Um, I'm going to jump around a little bit through the video try to just listen to the content of the debate because you're going to have Kyle Frank at the bottom left kind of talking through it, but I'll comment on the parts that are important. But we're going to jump in right around an hour and 17 into it, where I get in on the debate.
I'm gonna mute myself. Is that okay? So you don't have to mute me,
just
and I'll
mute
just
yourself.
pitch in.
Yeah, just mute yourself. Thanks. All right. No, Jordan. Jay. What up, Drake?
Well, this time I just put
Oh,
my
this guy. This
my
guy was
my
funny.
Twitter handle instead of my full Funny name. I apparently. don't
Yeah,
want
I
to
see
dox
that.
myself too
There's
hard
Twitter
this time.
before there.
Can I just give I took some important notes this time so I don't ramble. So I'll do my
Yeah.
part. I did my
All right.
best. So I have 3 notes. The first one, this guy's based. What's his name? Fatty Actually. I like this guy. This guy's actually a good guy. He's open to ideas. That I took from earlier was I heard someone, I think it was on the conservative side, they took some important notes this time so I don't ramble. So I'll do my
Yeah.
part.
All right.
So I have 3 notes. The first one that I took from earlier was I heard someone, I think it was on the conservative side, they got a little lag here. That immigration is a net positive because it benefits GDP. That's a false standard that we're even setting right there. Because even if migration from the third world helped our economy, but hurt Good people point, that are native born Americans, albeit black, white, Hispanic, frankly. Look at this guy. Even if
What
all
page
those
is that on
things were
again?
true,
Let me
that
pull
it
it up.
helped the economy, but your average middle class American in Ohio was out of the job, then immigration wouldn't be worth it.
Yep, here we go.
Because then you're assuming that we owe our labor to the third world. I'm never going to be for that. So I will take a drop in GDP if it means maybe for a few quarters we need to improve work standards for the middle class. So that's where you're seeing a real shift right now, is the Republican Party is becoming the party of the worker. Comments and Democrats who are just neoliberals can't even claim to be. Yeah, so with that one, a point I didn't really have time to get into that night was that's kind of the same argument we heard against Japan. We still hear it against them from like the 80s up until currently. Neoliberals have been criticizing Japan for decades for not bringing in, you know, hordes of third world migrants because, well, they have an aging population and they're straddled with debt and, who's going to do those jobs once the older Japanese die? Really what Japan harvested was their IQ. That's Japan's natural resource. They harvested their IQ and they have great automation. They've weathered the debt storm. They're still one of the most economically formidable countries in the world. So, you got to be wary of people who are always focused on the money aspect of this whole thing. And you really hear that a lot more so from the right, frankly, because they use the GDP argument to justify legal migration. Any rational person, really, for the most part, who you talk to, isn't for just open borders and illegal immigration. What you hear more so is the rational case that Republicans try to make that, well, what we need to do is just bring them here legally, the Charlie Kirk argument. So use that kind of argument, that line of argument, look at Japan, because no one is going to call Japan racist for not wanting to bring in Somalis to do whatever kind of menial tasks that they have in Japan. So that's one thing I didn't have time to get into, but we'll dig in more. You can't be pro worker and pro open borders.
No,
That's just one. That's just my first little.
I'd say
He didn't explain it well, but that's a good
people
argument,
that
yeah.
tend to lean right
He
are
should have
more the
went
blue collar
into
community.
where the money of
Yeah,
that GDP gain is going.
That's, in my
Well,
opinion,
the
that's one of the
that this
reasons
talks
why
about.
Trump wanted to
Oh, I
EPA
just
so much.
killed. I'm sorry for the ear rape
But
for a second.
and Kyle Frank's right there. The money from those gains, it really only goes 2 places. It goes to the top and to the bottom. It goes to the top CEOs, but that's where socialists and, Democratic Socialists of America and Bernie Bros really get lost is yes, it does go to the CEOs, but also who else does it go to? It goes to illegal immigrants and it goes to welfare programs. And I get into this in a second, but who's looking out for the middle class? It's really no one. The thing you got to ask yourself is why are both sides of the establishment pro-migration one way or another? Why are the Republicans pro-amnesty and pro-legal
The GDP is bad because
migration,
people like vape
and the
chungus devoured it, I
Democrats are
guess.
for open borders? Because it benefits big business on both sides.
Yeah.
It's not a conspiracy. I didn't mean to say that. It's not big business on both sides. It's big business on the Republican side, and it's a voting base on the Democratic side. So that is something, and if you're new to this channel, that may be a new concept, or new to these ideas, that may be a new concept. But the right and the left, the establishment right and the left, both want migration, but for different reasons. And like I say here, it's not a conspiracy theory. Most of these migrants, legal or illegal, will end up voting Democrat. So they want it for the voting base. Republicans want it for cheap labor. So it's really something to look at. You look at agriculture during the 80s, who used to do those jobs for a higher price and slightly better working conditions versus who does them now and doesn't complain, but still votes left. It's kind of funny. Theory, it's just factual that it benefits big
Yeah,
corporations
vape
left
chungus
and
ate the
right to
majority.
import workers, albeit from India, the Philippines, or Southern and Central America. Like, that's just factual. And the India thing is funny too, because what people say is, well, you don't want brown people, quote unquote, to come here because they're going to do, who's going to do the jobs that Hispanics won't do? And that's one line of argument. But the other one that they use is, well, but Indians do a great job here. Yeah, Indians do a decent job here. But the point is that those are jobs that could be not given out, but could be done better by college grads that are American born. So granted, maybe they would want a higher salary. Maybe they want better working conditions. But isn't that what the left wants also? So you get in this weird game where you have to be for all migration or you're racist, basically. It's a very, very bad paradigm the left has set up, frankly, and the right goes along with. It just helps the corporations.
I have
No,
a question, Brian.
who's the
CKT, thank you for the
political
follow, man.
lobby for the middle class? There is none. We don't really have one. No, there's literally none. So that's just the first thing on immigration.
Jordan, I'm not trying to take away from your point. I am fading really fast, so I'm going to go ahead and head to bed.
This
Yeah,
guy
you don't
didn't
even
want
have
the
to
Aw,
smoke.
man.
It was good talking to y'all tonight.
I'm
He didn't
so
want the
sad.
smoke from me.
I'm
I respect
so
you, bro.
sad.
Later, bro.
Thanks, Jordan. Later.
I do like that
I'm
guy,
really
though.
so
He is
sad he's
educated.
going.
Might not like
Yeah,
the man,
he's
the
fine.
points that Stephen brings up, but the man is very well educated.
No, he is very well educated. I have a lot of respect for Steven, Topher,
Oh, Jesus.
and that's, I have a lot of Topher, I wanna respect talk for to a you, lot of big guy. people in this chat. I just think that the
He's gonna
problem
poop.
with mainstream conservatism is that we overlook certain things so we don't appear to be the thing that they accuse us
Do
of.
any of you guys
The
have
way I
Catholic
see it
Groyper's
at this
Twitter
point,
at? I
from
want
what
to
I've
send
all
it in the
heard,
chat.
I like from
Alright,
these
we're gonna
past couple
fast
days,
forward a
I've
little
heard
bit.
from people that both claim to be conservative.
Can I
Shoot of
can I
Adam's
give
video,
the
okay.
argument
Yeah,
from the
he's a nice guy.
paleoconservative side?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Go forward a little bit. From our side, if we had pumped the brakes 10 years ago on gay marriage, we wouldn't even be fighting the drag queen story hour battle.
No, I don't believe in the drag queen story. I think that stuff.
You don't? No, I agree. So this is actually really important. If you didn't hear what I said there, what I told the guy, Fatty Actual, was if we had pumped the brakes on gay marriage 10 years ago and asked serious questions about the ramifications of that, we wouldn't be fighting drag queen story hour battle now. His response was, well, I'm not for drag queen story hour. That's not the point. If we hadn't let that one slide, we wouldn't be fighting this battle. And I get into this a little bit, but it's really about where you draw your line. Or do you even have a line? And increasingly, most people don't. They'll go along with whatever standard society sets up so they don't face inconvenience in their everyday life is really what it comes down to. People will stand for something insofar as it doesn't negatively impact their day-to-day function. So if that means calling people certain pronouns or calling people certain names or saying the right words, and that means they can get by through their day easily, then they'll just do it. What I'm saying is that we, as conservatives, we wouldn't even be having to worry about these social issues if we had taken a stand 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Something to think about.
Yeah.
Neither of us do. But if we had never ceded ground on gay marriage, we
There was
wouldn't
never
even be
free market
fighting
mass immigration
battle
economics in past
that we're
Grand Old Party.
fighting
Yes, there
now.
was.
Yeah.
Because here's
Yes,
the
there
thing, and this is
absolutely
what
was.
I was, and
I'm
ties in
making a
very
video.
nicely to my
Actually,
next
that's
point.
not a video that I'm making. But, so I'll explain it
If
now.
we
Yeah,
had
Ronald
held
Reagan was
strong on the battles
pro-immigration.
in 2010,
There's a famous debate between
as
Reagan
far
and
as social
H.W.
issues,
Bush in the 1980
gay
race
marriage,
in the
we wouldn't
primary,
even be
where they're
fighting
both
the
pro-immigration.
transgender
H.W.
battle
Bush
right now.
was very
We wouldn't be fighting
pro-immigration.
drag queen
Reagan was a
story
little
right
bit
now.
easier on the
Because if we
subject,
held
but he was
strong in
still pro-amnesty
2010
and stuff
and we
like
were
that.
willing to take the slings and arrows from the
I'm pretty
left
sure
of them
General
calling us
Eisenhower...
homophobic,
Check historic GOP
whatever the new
platforms.
term
Yeah, I mean
is for
before
the day.
that. I'm pretty sure General
If we had just
Eisenhower...
never ceded
No, General
ground, we would
Eisenhower
have
signed the
never been
55
fighting the
Immigration
drag
Act
queen
that
story hour battles.
added this is a
So
funny
when do we
provision.
ever
It
stop
made
and
it so
say,
like if
actually,
you
you know what,
had
I don't, as our mode of conservatism, then you're going to find yourself floating with the wind on any given current.
a New Deal paradigm,
Would you rather than
yeah,
just
definitely the
identify
deal.
I'm cool with it, but when you, like you said, like conservatism, right, to me is holding on to very traditional values in the sense of,
Not the
you
actor.
know, obviously I can't stop people like Amanda
being maintained throughout history. All right.
Is
Now
there,
we get into more.
I
specific-
want a
To be
mother.
fair-
I think ideally, mother and a father is the Oh, best God. way to
To
raise.
be
I feel
fair,
bad for this
I
girl.
have a kid and he has
She's
a father.
clearly very damaged.
I
She's
was
been through a
raised only
lot.
by my mother and
Same
then
with
the
this
foster
guy.
care.
I don't dislike
And I was
them.
only
They've
raised
just,
by my mother
they've
too,
been
because
through
my
a lot.
dad died before I was born.
Dad,
so.
would you
My
like-
can see
dad's
the
a
There's
difference.
Hispanic piece of trash.
Can I ask, behind a lot of these people, there's usually a lot of family trauma, a very specific event that happened that made them like neglect the norm. So I don't have any animosity towards these people that I was debating. A big part of me feels bad for what they've gone through because you can tell there's a lot of pain in those eyes. Yeah, they're not bad people. They've just been through a lot. And ask you guys two personal questions, and they actually both apply. Would you Can't believe rather I have asked been them. raised the way you were, or would you have rather been raised by a steady mother and father married at the altar, and then they had
They're
two,
gonna
like,
answer.
because
I
I'm
know.
not
I
even
love my
from a
life. Just
traditional
to own
family.
him.
No,
What he should have
so I'm
asked
not
was,
your-
do you
I'm not
think it's better
talking
for the
down to
average
you. I'm just
child to
asking.
be
Right.
raised
Let me
your
tell
way
you this.
or raised
So
with two
my
parents? That's what he should
father
have asked.
is actually
Pause.
part
They
of
have someone in the
honest.
waiting room named Barb's for Bernie. Everyone get ready.
Absolutely not.
Everyone
Okay,
get
um,
ready.
Let's do it.
I want to talk to them, please.
No, you're
What? Real quick so that we can answer that. My thing
This
is,
part's
yeah,
funny.
I mean, I agree that two-parent households and all that do lead to better lives, better families, more financial
Oh, they're actually
stability,
being
more
honest.
family
Cool.
structure.
Told you.
I was
Um,
wrong.
However,
Just ask the
there's
black community.
exactly right. That's exactly my point. I agree with you on that. I wish
And see, that's funny. She has a MAGA flag behind her, but she's basically a liberal. What she has to do right there is she has to admit that, well, yeah, I do hope that families stay together and they stick to traditionalism, but here's why it works the other way. And I insert, well, just ask the black community. It turned out pretty badly for them once the family was deteriorated. Then she has to say, well, no, actually, I agree. Because she can't appear to not care about the struggles of black people. Not that she does anyway, but she has to appear that she does. I'm not saying that she's disingenuous, but she's like learned these talking points where she has to admit that the problem of the black community is only the family, and there's nothing else. There's nothing else there. It's just the fact that the family was destroyed. That's a huge part of it, but she has to say that maybe black families need traditionalism and family values, but me, this liberated, blue-haired person, I don't need that.
I did have a two-parent household. I wish I got to know my dad. However, you have to remember
Let's
that
debate socialism
when
with
it
the Marxists.
comes
Yay.
to gay couples, lesbian couples, bi couples, etc., there's usually one feminine one and one masculine one. Like for me, when it
There's
comes
usually one.
to
How is
you
that a
know
good
liking
argument for
girls, I
lesbian?
usually like dykes. I'm not gonna lie, I like dykes. And when I'm with guys, I usually like more I like more masculine, more like I like beards, I like all like I don't know, I like more masculine
That
people
sounds
and
completely
even in
degenerate.
girls.
What a
But
coat.
do you
Fat
think
are you
that,
in?
But do you think that
you're
that's
not bad if she likes beards?
that's a coat?
Well,
I'll be respectful. If you don't want me to ask, I thought they were telling me not
Oh
to
no,
ask this.
as long as you're respectful, dude. I
Of
could care less what you think. As long as you respect me as a person, I could care less what you
These
think
are
about
genuine
my
questions. I'm
views.
asking.
I know.
Do you
I love
think-
genuine questions.
Do you think it would be? Well, no, you already admitted it, that it's
Yeah,
better.
I
You already
I
said
told
better.
I
You already
agree.
added a qualifier, so I don't even need to ask.
Exactly. I
Good
totally,
job, Jordan.
I 100% agree with you on
She
that. It's
literally
scientifically and
already, at
psychologically
that point
proven.
in the argument, she had already admitted that she wishes she had had the traditional family structure, because who wouldn't? Who wouldn't rather that their parents were together? Who wouldn't rather that, they weren't brought up in a traumatic situation? Anything else, in my opinion, is just a cope. You're basically trying to say, no, 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 actually what I went through, what didn't kill me made me stronger. It's like, well, you shouldn't be facing almost being killed to make you stronger, frankly. And it's a big cope when people are like, oh, well, no, that traumatic, horrible experience I went through as a kid was actually better for me. And she didn't do that. I'll respect her for that. But you get that a lot from people on the left.
Proven two-parent
Now-
households are better for structural purposes.
But my
Nate
my
Smoke,
last
thank you for the
question,
follow.
and I would love to just keep talking to y'all all night. I love these Zoom calls. You guys
I
are
didn't get to talk about my
You
Awesome.
parents.
Wine glass. You
I
was
do love
big
those Zoom
killer
calls.
I'll be
the other
real.
night.
I don't like
I
these Zoom
love
calls at
talking to
all.
you guys. The only night I didn't like was when it was my fault, where I was drinking too much and I was too aggressive. Last
I
two
was
nights,
also
I
drinking
love
too
talking.
much that night.
Hey, Jordan.
I'm a DD boss. I done seen it all. So
Yeah.
Jordan,
Can,
My
can I
last
talk about
one-
my parents real quick?
So last night I kind of got laughed
Remaining
at.
comment from debate is keep doing
Ironically,
well. Yes, it is.
I asked if the Constitution really protected free speech, if the founding fathers never could have seen the fact that tech companies will
I enjoy
own
them. I
most
learn
of
a
the
lot.
public space.
Alt-light, there's
And
you can go
everyone was
watch
like, "Oh
literally
no, that's
any
not
other
a
debate
concern."
that isn't
But we
this and
just saw
learn a
Nick
hell of a lot
Fuentes,
more.
I don't know what he's saying. Jake Lloyd, and Jaden McNeil all banned off TikTok simultaneously due to zero. This actually gets to the heart of the TikTok wars, because my point the other night was that the founding fathers wrote the First Amendment with no concept that tech companies would own what they envisioned as the public space. So then you're left in a boat where the left is saying, well, ban the racists, let's say, and the right is saying, well, let them ban the racists, whatever the definition of that term is that given day. Ban them because it's a private company. But what happens when the private company owns the public space? That's where we're at right now. I think these people, well, we'll look at it, but I think what their argument would be is, well, they're a private company and we just got to play by their rules. And it's like, well, then, so we've already lost. Sweet. Zero. Guidelines broken. Nick Fuentes never spoke a word in his TikTok. Yeah. Not a word. Nick didn't say
Not a
one
single
single
word
word was, but wait, hold on. Hold on.
These people
So this
probably
actually ties
advocated
into
for
a
his
larger
I'm
ban.
gonna, if they let me talk,
If
I'm gonna
we're
talk
gonna
about this
say
in a
that
little more organized way.
somehow it is within the First Amendment to just ban everyone randomly if they fall to the right of Ben Shapiro or Dave Rubin, I guess. I guess that's our standard. If you fall to the right of Ben Shapiro, you're an alt-righter, even if you're black somehow like me. But you could be
Yo,
banned
base black man
tomorrow
in America
for no
first hat?
reason. But then
Shut up, Kyle.
I'm laughed at for saying that the tech companies have too much control. Like, which is it? Do we value free speech, or do we value free market more? And
These
if we
apps are-
value free speech more, then the Constitution has not done its necessary duty to protect speech. So
The
it's
First
like, which one
Amendment-
do we care about more?
The
See,
First
here's the,
Amendment.
I forgot
hold on,
what
go
happened
let
after this.
Joseph hit this real quick.
yeah, go, let him hit this. He can answer this better than I can.
What happened
The
here?
First Amendment restricts the government from infringing your speech.
Right.
All these apps, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, are private companies. It's no
I
different
knew it.
than if you were to come into my house and you said something
I
that I
knew he
didn't
would
like.
go
I'd
here.
kick you out of my house.
Except
But
me
I
getting
can't
kicked
have
out of
your-
your
it's
house is
not
not
different.
going to kill my career.
These companies start
Exactly.
these apps,
Asshole.
they market these apps,
So
they're
fucking
private
tone deaf,
apps.
this answer is.
Okay.
and they
So-
can dictate what is said on
Okay.
their app.
Well,
And you also
So
have to
tone
remember
deaf.
TikTok is owned by China.
Absolutely tone deaf.
Yeah.
that's actually okay. What was your JKS?
Mm-hmm.
No, you had a good argument, but here's my counter argument. What would you do if, and let me give you a European example. Do you know who Martin Sellner is?
Oh, I forgot I brought him
He's
up.
an American. I don't really care.
Okay, but he operated a nationalist group in Germany.
Nice job,
He
Fatty.
got banned from 6 different banks because he was associated with nationalism in
I
Germany.
forgot I used this
that
argument.
had no time. No, but you have to ride with the concept. because this is slowly starting to happen in America. Laura Loomer is a good example.
Yes.
Jacob Wool, actually Alex Jones is probably the best example. But you have all
Damn,
these
I
people
forgot I
banned
brought
from
these
different
up.
private services that have a monopoly on the service on the thing they provide. So like Uber operates 90% of the rideshare apps, let's say. I'm
What do you do when
saying,
you're banned
how
from it?
far do we let it go until the water company cuts you off for your bad political opinions? Would you say to TXU, you can cut off my power because I went to a Trump rally? Well, it's a private company. Start your own power company. How far does your logic go?
Exactly. Damn,
I
I'm
don't
agreeing with
think-
myself here.
When you're talking about public services like that, that you can apply what you say in your private life.
What Jordan's trying to tell you is that these
What you
things
say
are the
has
new
no
public
bearing
services. They are the
on
next generation of public
the
services.
power company and how
What was
it's
the big issue in the
represented.
1930s?
What you say on
It was
these
rural
apps can be.
electrification. What is the issue now? It is getting broadband internet
But
to
no,
rural
no,
Does that
communities.
see?
It's the same
Of course
exact
it
thing.
does,
It's just
but
100
it's
years
not about
later.
the
Yeah.
reflection.
Yeah, and see those are the kind of things that the Constitution never prepared for. I'm not against the Constitution. I'm just saying I agree with the left a little bit here that it is a little bit outdated, but in the sense that it doesn't protect enough of people's rights. It doesn't protect political dissidents' rights, frankly. Like Kyle just said, we're in the next generation of public services. How do, 30 years ago, would you really consider the internet a public service? No, but now when every single, payment processor is run through the internet and you're banned from your bank, how do you pay your water bill? And what's stopping your bank from banning you for going to a Trump rally? There's no criteria here. So really the TikTok bans, YouTube bans, Twitter bans, those are just opening the door for your water to be cut off one day because you may have made a racially insensitive joke when you were 12. So be careful with the free market slippery slope. The only issue you had earlier was just about the fact that it's a private company. Does it have the right to cancel you? And I'm saying as far as a company has a monopoly on any service, they should not be able to cancel you. Damn, I'm kind of
See, here's the
based.
thing: when you sign up for these apps, you agree to a certain set of rules and conditions. It's the same thing when you go to a job.
Sorry, you can't get me unmuted? Thanks for trying, Connor. Maybe if they unmute me
Do you
themselves,
think the
it'll
founding
be better.
fathers could have ever envisioned a world where 4 tech companies owned the entire public space in 2020?
Of course not, but at the same time,
I think we talked about this yesterday.
Yeah,
we're
I'm
certain-
circling back. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
We'll
no,
get
you're
back
good.
to
I'm
the
just
things
saying.
that we
I
were
was just
talking
going to
about.
raise the same counterpoint of.
I just think
In
it's
my opinion,
interesting.
the public square is the public square, but back in those times, you also had quote unquote salons or these parlors where people come in and debate politics, and those are still privately owned.
I don't know what he's talking about there. He says, yeah, we have the tech public space now, but back then we had salons in the street corner. That's my point. It's evolved past that, so I don't know what he's saying. Like, yeah, it was a good standard then, but it's not now. Like, I don't understand what his point is there, but I still like Fatty, actually. He's a good guy, but he's proving my point there. It's evolved past the point of when the Constitution was written.
I don't think-
exactly.
The public square is.
What was
still
the problem in the
public square,
30s?
but
Was
I just
rural
don't think that-
electrification.
I don't
One of
wanna
the
go out
biggest
stand
parts
out
of the
all day
New
and talk to
Deal
some random idiot.
in
I
the,
don't want to do that either. That's why I
like
like
you
my
behind
the
Twitter
the
National
account.
Recovery
Right,
Administration
pick you
was
up, lay you
getting
in bed, and
electrification
make
to
you
rural
wanna cry.
communities so they can
Can
have
I-
running water, running
Can I make
electricity,
one
stuff
more
like
point
that.
really quick?
Mm-hmm.
I think this
Every
is the last
person
point I
on
make
here,
before I go.
black, white, Hispanic, Indian, gay, bi what, LGBTQI++, AAA6, anything.
Can't believe I
Any
said that.
person on here, if you are on this Zoom call and Jared Holt, if everyone knows who Jared Holt is with right.
They probably don't know who
The
he
name
is.
is familiar.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, he was
Well,
right. They
Groyper
don't even know who he
innocent,
is,
don't worry.
Jared.
But Jared Holt
Very poor choice of
could
words of
take
people
a
who don't know what that
screenshot of
means.
every person on this call and say they're a part of the conservative hype house group that Nick Fuentes was once a part of. Here's the thing. When you denounce people to your right,
Yep.
they will use those same tactics against you. So every time you say, oh, don't let Jordan talk or don't let Nick talk,
My
'cause
name,
they're all
I'm on
right,
my
or
normal Zoom account right now. My name is there.
give it a few more years. They're going to call you alt-right too.
Oh, they already are. Trust me, they already
I'd
do.
say let him. I'm an identical twin, and like I could easily use his ID.
These people, man, and they act like they get it. That's the funny part is they're like chameleons. They say like, "Oh yeah, I already get called alt-right." I promise you, these people have not faced 1/10 of the oppression the oppression that the America First movement has. Not 1/10. These people can go live on TikTok, these people can go live on YouTube, no problems. But when you start talking about the wrong things, next thing you know, you're persona non grata and depersoned. They act like they get it, but these will be the same. What? Mark my words, in 5 years, these will be the same people that are like, no, 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 I'm not alt right. I denounced Nick on that Zoom call. I told Jordan that he was wrong. Give it time. These people, again, I don't think they understand what they're getting into, but Jared Holt will make sure that they understand what they're getting into.
To do stuff, so.
Wait, is alternate
Y'all know I'm
hypothesis in the
right.
call?
I just wish y'all. I wish y'all would. I wish y'all would interact more with the right a little bit farther. Not.
I don't think Nick Fuentes
You know what I
should be
mean?
banned from. I don't see what he did wrong on TikTok. I don't think anyone should be banned from TikTok because you say one thing that some little fake, little flaky snowflake, regardless if they're
Well,
left or right, doesn't agree.
That's why I respect you,
2016
bro,
check.
because you do hold true to your principles. Most of the people on this call do hold true. I'm just saying that,
That's
like,
me
the little
conceding a little
slippery
bit.
slope y'all take where y'all
Yeah, I
are
don't think
willing
he's
to
in
say,
here.
well, we'll just sacrifice Nick.
He's got
Oh,
other things to do.
Nick's a neo-Nazi. It's like, okay, you say that about Nick, but I actually have very similar beliefs to Nick.
Can
And
I
I'm
say
I wasn't
something?
here for
And
the
that's
Nick
true.
Fuentes thing, but
That's an interesting thing is and I'm not trying to pull well, you can't call me racist because I'm black. I'm not saying that. It's just interesting that they'll kick Nick off a call or they'll ban Nick, but I can kind of say the same things with more leeway. Where does the privilege really lie?
I have very similar beliefs to Nick.
No,
Nick
you
too.
don't.
I do
She
actually.
doesn't. I think you do, man.
You'd
told
be
her that.
surprised. I very much do.
We
However,
don't have
I
to be
just think
surprised. We
Nick's,
already heard your spiel about
Nick's
how you don't
morals
understand how
are
race has
in-
anything to do with immigration.
At least in
Like,
my
shut up.
personal opinion, Nick's morals aren't in the right place.
They
However, I do aren't. So
How
I
are
don't.
his morals? in
So
the right place?
personally, I don't think immigration should be completely banned.
Am I
I
up
don't
next?
think that any other race is genetically
Into beers, is that
predisposed
true?
to,
I think this is where I get into it with him.
crime or whatever.
So you
but
think
here-
evolution stopped at the neck? And
No,
evolution
That's
only
an
happens
alternate
when you're
hypothesis
downward
talking
and it
point. Here we go.
stops up here.
I don't believe in evolution.
See,
I believe in evolution.
That's the thing.
The Chad, I don't even
Right.
that. Yeah, okay, that's
So
the
here's the
Chad.
thing. Here's the
Damn,
thing with
yo, Bex.
evolution.
Well,
Evolution has to happen because of
Oh,
dire
God, I
survival
shouldn't have even let her go
circumstances.
down that
And
path.
when it comes to nowadays, everything is so. Everything's right there in front of you. You don't have to go
hold
fight for what you need. So there is
I'm
no
not trying to
reason
get into
evolve.
evolution.
I don't believe in
Yeah.
'Cause
evolution.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a
I can talk
theologian.
about. I can talk about.
Here's what I'm
evolution
asking. Here's what I'm
night.
asking.
She tries to
What's
detract.
immoral about Nick Fuentes?
Ooh, here we
I
go.
just.
said anything that he was immoral.
I
Here we
just
go.
said
no,
I
she
don't.
said that.
No, I didn't say he was immoral. I just said I don't personally agree with his morals.
You said
That's
his
the same
morals were
thing.
in the wrong
Yeah.
place.
Fine.
But-
It's her opinion, so she could think that me and
Of
Fatty,
course, it's fine.
Yes,
now
and
we
we're
have different
quiet.
These people are so like mid-wit IQ. It's frustrating rewatching this because anytime you own these people in a debate, they say, "Well, she has the right to believe in." I'm not saying most of the time, I'm not saying take away her right to have an opinion. I'm saying she's wrong, and then when I corner her, they say, "Well, she has the right." Like, look at this person, not this guy. Look at this person on the screen right here, lecturing me about my beliefs when she's like, "Hey, she has the right to believe that." I didn't say she didn't have the right to believe it. I'm just saying she's factually incorrect, and I'm owning her. So, get off my screen.
opinions. We may not think that way.
Right.
So-
Where do y'all
Idiot.
agree? Where do y'all disagree
Here
with
we go.
Nick though?
I
'Cause he's
disagree.
basically- like maybe you disagree
I
with.
think this is probably a good point at which we can move to the second part of this video. And we'll probably end here, but this is what that interaction led into, and then we'll get into the closing
where are
part.
his facts wrong? Maybe you disagree with his
This
approach
about
and
Nick.
like how he says it, but
No,
like
he's-
in
I
terms
love
of
his
his facts, like where are his facts wrong?
I cannot deny the fact that he's educated because he is educated and everyone's telling me to debate him and I'm like, no, because I will lose because I am not as educated as this man is.
Maybe you disagree with his approach and like That part is hysterical to me. We're going to jump back on the solo screen here. That part is hysterical to me because people claim Nick Fuentes is a lot of things, but the thing people do not claim he is highly educated. And that's not a dig at him. Nick would say that also. Nick always uses the line, "I'm a college dropout. What are you afraid of?" For her to say he's more educated than me, that's a very low bar, sweetheart. Um, yeah, that tweet right there that I did, we'll pull it back up really quick. So that tweet may be where a lot of you guys found me. This isn't even a flex. It's the opposite of a flex. This is the biggest tweet I've ever had, 54 and 562. I'm a relatively small Twitter account, 600 something followers. But I think that tweet is where a lot of y'all found me. It's kind of funny. But yeah, man, like these people, the cognitive dissonance there, like they're not dumb. That's kind of the sad part, is that these people aren't dumb. They're just misinformed. Like the way I look at it is like they're computers and they've just gotten the Con Inc. TPUSA software downloaded to their brains. And that's all that's there. And anything to the right is like a mind virus, and anything to the left is a mind virus to them. And they just try to expel those. It's very tough, but I do think I think we're successfully moving the Overton window a little bit to the right, and I think we probably have brought some people to our side in these Zoom calls. So we're at 36 minutes. This is my first video. Hope you guys liked it. What my plan is for this channel, just a little bit of future planning. What I want to do is I want you guys to go to DLive, send me any links you guys want me to examine. I already have a couple from a few Zoomers in my DLive chat. DLive channel is going to be in the description below. DLive channel is Jordan B. Dallas Groyper, all one word. Jordan, Jordan, B. Dallas Groyper, one word. Go to my DLive, subscribe there, leave content you want me to examine on YouTube until I get my streaming set up the way I want it. Sorry about the audio. Mic isn't set up yet, but we're getting started and we're going to have some good things on this channel. Like I said, be sure to like, comment, share, and I will see you guys next time.